stories of the Marvels and Killers of the Flower Moon on this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Hello and welcome to the Movies Past and Present podcast. It's November 12th, 2023, and this is episode 116. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my website, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing recommendations, commentary, and reviews about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's do this thing. New in theaters this weekend, it opened on Friday, November 10th, is The Marvels. This is a comic book movie and a sequel to Captain Marvel from 2019. This is from Marvel Studios. It's directed by Nia DaCosta, and we get a continuation of the story of Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, who's played by Brie Larson. And in this film, Captain Marvel's powers get entangled with two other, superhero folks. We've got Ms. Marvel, a.k.a. Kamala Khan, who's played by Iman Vellani, and Monica Rambeau, who is played by Teyonah Parris. This power entanglement forces these three to work together to save the universe. I'm actually going to be reviewing this movie in the podcast today, so more to come. But The Marvels is rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association for action, violence, and brief language. There's some films opening up next weekend, again, in preparation for the Thanksgiving holiday, that I thought I'd talk about. These are all opening up on November 17th. First up is Next Goal Wins. This is a comedy from Searchlight Pictures. It's directed by Taika Waititi. It's based on a true story of the infamously terrible American Samoa national soccer team. They suffered a historic defeat in the 2001 FIFA World Cup, where they lost 31-0. With the World Cup qualifiers approaching, the team hires a down-on-his-luck Maverick coach named Thomas Rongen, who in the film was played by Michael Fassbender, hoping he will turn around the world's worst soccer team. This is billed as a heartfelt underdog comedy. The trailers look good. I'm actually quite excited to see Next Goal Wins. It is rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association for some strong language and crude material. Next up on November 17th is a horror film, because what's a weekend without a horror film opening? This one's called Thanksgiving. It's from Sony Pictures. It's co-written and directed by Eli Roth. After a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts. Doesn't this just sound great? The birthplace of the holiday. Picking off residents one by one, what begins as a random revenge killing soon is revealed to be part of a larger, sinister holiday plan. Will the town uncover the killer and survive the holidays, or become guests at his twisted holiday dinner table? I will never know. Thanksgiving is rated R by the Motion Picture Association for strong, bloody horror violence and gore, pervasive language, and some sexual material. What a great way to spend the holiday. Not. Okay. I don't know what sounds worse, Thanksgiving or this next film. Trolls Band Together. This is a musical comedy animated feature from DreamWorks and Universal. This is another film in the Trolls series. Anna Kendrick is back as the voice of the troll Poppy, along with Justin Timberlake as the voice of the troll named Branch. In this film, we learn that Branch has a secret past. He was once a member of a boy band named Brozone with his four brothers. When one of Branch's brothers gets kidnapped, Branch and Poppy try to get the band back together to save their brother. I can't even begin to tell you how horrible this film looks. And so won't be seeing it. You're going to have to let me know if you go and if you survive Trolls Band Together. It's rated PG by the Motion Picture Association for some mild, rude, and suggestive humor. And, truthfully, I'm not the target audience for this film. So I hope people have fun if they like it, but I think it just looks absolutely awful. All right. Next up is The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is an action drama from Lionsgate. It's directed by Francis Lawrence. So this is a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. As you know, The Hunger Games was a novel published in 2008, written by Suzanne Collins. It was turned into a movie in 2012. Suzanne Collins wrote a trilogy. Wrote 3 books, and all three books got turned into movies. I read the first book and saw the first movie, and I gotta tell you, I just didn't really care for it. Just the dystopian story, just wasn't of interest to me. But I know it was hugely popular, both the book series and this movie series. So I'm just going to read the press materials to you because I feel like it's reading a foreign language. But here we go. So experience the story of the Hunger Games 64 years before Katniss Everdeen, I remember Katniss, played by Jennifer Lawrence, right, in the movies, volunteered as a tribute. And decades before, Coriolanus Snow became the tyrannical president of Panem. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, follows a young Coriolanus, who's played by Tom Blythe, who is the last hope for his failing lineage, the once proud Snow family that has fallen from grace in a post-war capital. With his livelihood threatened, Snow is reluctantly assigned to mentor Lucy Gray Baird, who in the movie is played by Rachel Zegler, a tribute from the impoverished District 12. But after Lucy Gray's charm captivates the audience of Panem, Snow sees an opportunity to shift their fates. With everything he has worked for hanging in the balance, Snow unites with Lucy Gray to turn the odds in their favor. Battling his instincts for both good and evil, Snow sets out on a race against time to survive and reveal if he will ultimately become a songbird or a snake. And maybe some of you could maybe contact me and interpret it for me, whatever I just read. I also understand, though, that there's some songs in this film, which makes sense that they'd hire Rachel Zegler, because I think she's got a lovely singing voice. But anyway, I'm probably passing on this one too, since I passed on 2 of the 3 movies from the other Hunger Games movies. Anyway, The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association for strong violent content and disturbing material. So there we have it. Now playing in theaters, The Marvels, and then opening up next weekend on November 17th. Next Goal Wins, Thanksgiving, Trolls Band Together, and The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. For reviews, first off, I want to talk about Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, the concert film. I've been out of the country, and so I'm really behind on things, on my movie watching. But I was able to catch Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour in theaters. So this is a concert film. It was filmed in August of 2023 at 3 of her shows that she did at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not a hater either, but I think a lot of it is just, ignorant and focused on other things. But clearly, as we all know, Taylor Swift is just an absolute phenomenon. And then this Eras Tour has just been unreal in its amount of success and popularity. I thought it was actually a pretty cool move that Taylor Swift filmed this concert and put it out in theaters, relatively quickly. This wasn't like having to wait a year or something. This was just literally months after she had, or even weeks, after she had wrapped up the U.S. part of this giant Eras Tour that she's doing worldwide. But I thought it was a cool move in that so many people that I know uh, couldn't get tickets. They tried to get tickets to this tour, and it was just, there was the whole Ticketmaster fiasco, but also just the popularity of it. You've probably seen pictures. I mean, she was selling out giant football stadiums, uh, you know, multiple shows in all these different cities she went to across the U.S. And, I think the fandom knows no bounds. I mean, it's just, she just has a tremendous amount of fans and support, including she's a very talented artist. So, also this concert film, it's become the highest grossing concert film of all time. I think the current amount it's like around 234 million worldwide that it's earned, and it's probably just going to continue to grow. And also, I think it's received acclaim from film critics who are praising, the direction of it. It's directed by Sam Wrench, if I didn't already mention that, and who I thought did a very credible job. And just the spectacle and energy of the whole experience. I was in the theater that I saw it in. There were only like 3 or 4 other people in there, so there wasn't a lot of like jumping around and dancing. But you saw some other theaters that appeared to really like people were acting as if they were at the concert, and I think that was really maybe the main thing that I enjoyed about the film, is that you really do feel like you're there, and probably even a better, quote unquote seat than those who are just right there against that massive stage. But I thought it was really cool. There's probably only like 5 Taylor Swift songs that I recognized. Because again, as I said, I'm not much of a Swiftie, but boy, Cruel Summer and Blank Space, they just played through my head for days after seeing the show. So I thought it was a spectacle in the best sense of the word, and really captured a very cool and very popular live event of 2023. So kudos to Taylor Swift. I think also of interest, just from a movie nerd perspective, is that Taylor Swift, who is not only a very talented artist and songwriter, but a very savvy business person. She partnered directly with movie theaters rather than going through a studio or some kind of a distributor, and defined the traditional film distribution model for this. So I guess just more money for her, and also more money for the movie theaters, which I think it was a huge boost to. So not only has Taylor Swift saved the U.S. economy, she's saved movie theaters too, or at least provided a lot of money for them. So anyway, good for her. The Eras Tour, I think, is still playing in select theaters. So again, if you're interested in that sort of thing, I think it's definitely worth checking out. So The Marvels, which just opened up this weekend, I was able to see it, and here's a quick and spoiler-free review. So, as I mentioned, this is a sequel to Captain Marvel, which came out in 2019, and again, as I mentioned, directed by Nia DaCosta. So Brie Larson reprises her role as the super powerful superhero Captain Marvel. In this film, though, she gets entangled with 2 other characters. Both of these characters have been on Disney Plus shows. So I'm going to get more into that and the whole Disney Plus component in a minute. But first off is Ms. Marvel, who is a Pakistani-American character named Kamala Khan. She's played in the film and also in the Disney Plus series by Iman Vellani. And then a character named Monica Rambeau, who is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who was Carol Danvers' best friend in Captain Marvel. And in the Captain Marvel film, Maria Rambeau is played by Lashana Lynch. And we get to meet a kind of a young version of Monica Rambeau in the film. In this film, she's grown up. Monica Rambeau was reintroduced to us in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, quote unquote. In the Disney Plus miniseries WandaVision. Anyway, more Disney Plus in a minute. But so these three, who the film is calling the Marvels, these three women are all they are brought together, and they end up having really to work together to defeat a pretty nasty villain. This film truly is a sequel. There's a lot of stuff going on that if you haven't seen the first Captain Marvel film, you might want to before seeing this film, just because I think you can brush up on some of the stuff and some of the conflict and whatnot that's happening. And then, of course, as with any Marvel movie, you need to stay through the end credits, because there's stuff that's fun for this film, but also possibly showing a direction of the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to go. So, speaking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I guess I should say first, I really like this film. I thought it was very entertaining. The pace is brisk. It's not perfect, but also, and I'm not trying to give it some slack, but it's an escapist comic book movie, and I think it does its job. It's a great escape. It's very fun. It's funny. I thought the humor was great in it. I also really appreciated the runtime. It runs about an hour and 45 minutes. So none of this like 2.5 hour nonsense for a comic book movie. Sorry. I don't really, I thought that in many ways it was a breath of fresh air and a lot of, just really a lot of fun. The Marvel Cinematic Universe and Marvel Studios, they've been cranking out a lot of content. They put a lot of stuff on the Disney Plus subscription service, and some of that, as I mentioned, like with WandaVision, and with Ms. Marvel, those, even though you don't necessarily need to have seen those shows before watching this film and before watching the Marvels, stuff definitely contributes to that from those series. Also, the series Hawkeye, same thing. Kind of, there's something that you might want to watch Hawkeye before seeing this. But anyway, I think that, and also, there's again a lot of content on Disney Plus. And I think there's been some discontent with the actual quality of films. I think, Ant-Man Quantumania, which came out earlier this year, met with mixed reviews, including me. I didn't love it. But so there's just a lot of Marvel Cinematic Universe fatigue, and I think criticism. I sat next to a family at the Marvels that was with a very chatty dad. He was a nice guy, but he was just openly sharing with me that he was really tired of all of the content he felt like he had to watch on Disney Plus in order to get caught up with stuff that was happening in the movies. He was longing for the day, a few years back before Disney Plus, where you could just watch a Marvel movie and then wait until the next one came out in order to quote unquote keep up with the storyline. And he's got a point. There's been a lot of content, and not all the content has been great, or just really beloved by fans. Maybe some hardcore fans have really been into it, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but I think clearly there's just, I think looking at it realistically, there's been a lot of challenges. Of course, we had a pandemic that really altered the output from these film studios, including Disney and Marvel. Also, Disney created a very splashy new streaming service, Disney Plus, and was pulling in all of their creative arms, all of their various studios to create content for it. And Marvel was no exception. They have created a lot of content for Disney Plus, and uh, you just wonder if what the world would have been like if Disney had not created Disney Plus. And of course, if there hadn't been a pandemic, like really altered the course for things. So I acknowledge that this criticism of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is real and legit. But then I also come back to that this is an escapist comic book adventure. It's not Schindler's List. So anyway, I say go see the Marvels if you like this sort of thing. I had a blast. Next up is Killers of the Flower Moon, which is a crime drama from Paramount Pictures and from Apple Original Films. It's directed by Martin Scorsese. This is based on a 2017 nonfiction book by David Grann, who is a writer at the New Yorker and a journalist and author. And this was, I just thought, a very compelling film. Speaking of runtime, the one thing that I felt was intimidating about it's really long, so you got to plan accordingly. It's like 3.5 hours long, so pack a lunch and plan your bathroom breaks. I had really good counsel from some dear friends that just were saying, don't be afraid to use the restroom during the film, but make sure you do it before the final hour, which I thought was really good advice. So just a word to the wise if you choose to see this in the theater. If you see it at home, of course, it's no big deal. And of course, I think eventually it's going to be on Apple TV Plus. I don't know when, but I was happy to see it in the big theater or on the big screen because I thought it was this was Martin Scorsese is such a fine director, and with every director. Not every project is brilliant, but this one is definitely in the good Martin Scorsese category, I think. It's set in 1920s Oklahoma, and it's focused on a series of murders that have been happening from the Osage Nation, the Native American tribe, after oil had started being produced on their tribal land. Tribal members had retained the mineral rights on the reservation, and then a group of opportunistic and rotten white people sought to gain their wealth. This film stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro plays the kingpin of this whole situation, and both the expert direction from Martin Scorsese, and they've collaborated on I think 10 plus films, but Robert De Niro is fantastic as this kind of grandfather figure, who comes across as maybe looking is like benevolent, but deep down he's manipulative and pretty horrible. And then Leonardo DiCaprio plays his nephew, and who gets caught up in having to kind of do a lot of dirty deeds for Robert De Niro. A real revelation in this film is the actress Lily Gladstone, who is Native American, but she was raised on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation, and then received a degree from the University of Montana in acting and directing, and she's just brilliant in this film. She plays again a Native American who falls in love and marries the Leonardo DiCaprio character, but really, her family is one of the they're all getting murdered, they're all getting killed off, and anyway, it's a really cool crime drama, a very compelling story. Really well acted, really well directed. Really I think one of the best films of the year. So So highly recommend Killers of the Flower Moon, and just, plan your bathroom breaks accordingly to go see it. So there you have it. Well, that does it for this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Again, links and more information about the movies discussed in today's podcast can be found in the podcast notes on my blog at moviespastandpresent.com. Subscribe to the podcast where you listen to podcasts, and follow me on Instagram. I'm at moviespap, as in past and present. As always, I hope you will enjoy some good movies this week, whether they be from the past or the present. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, be safe out there and dedicate yourself to the truth.